We are looking at Bridge, and Bridge is pointed at a a portable hard drive that I have, and I use portable hard drives, and then every couple of months I download the portable hard drive work over to an archive drive that I have. That archive drive is a much larger drive. It's like an 8 terabyte drive or some sort, and or 16 terabyte. I haven't messed with RAIDs yet. I know that RAIDs would be good if you were doing a lot more video work. I think RAIDs are much more important, but I use SD drives and scratch drives, and it seems to do well for me. So, Central Park Snow, Carlone Wedding, Frozen Hudson. That's what we're going to be looking at. Legacy Box Project, Milan 2026, Normandy 2026. These are all folders I've set up, and I know that they're this year's work because the hard drives are this year's work, and that's if I go back to places frequently, I'll put the year that I go back, like you see, Milan 2026. So we're going to go to Frozen Hudson and start off here. And before we get all the way into it, we're going to look at a couple of slides, and this is going to make things official. And editing a photo shoot using Adobe Photoshop and Bridge. So, like I said before, I want to reiterate, I have a workflow I believe that the best workflow is the one that you are confident and proficient in. So there may be better workflows, but it may not be better for you. And workflow is really important. For those of you that have been on workshops with me, a good, healthy workflow so that you can cull the images you shot that day, take a quick look at them, identify like the 2 star, 3 star ones, and then get them separated is a great thing. So having an efficient system that works really well is key. So I just want to kind of go back and to talk about a scope here. And it was Seattle, Washington, 1992 or 93, somewhere around there. And I knew this girl, Cosette, and Cosette was a designer, and Cosette was working in this print shop. And she goes, "You got to check this out." And she brings me to this computer. And it was 93, it was a 92, it was an early computer. And she says, "It's Adobe Photoshop." And it's really amazing because if you can dream it, you can make it happen. So I'll never forget that quote because it really got me enthusiastic with Photoshop. So Photoshop has evolved over the years. Photoshop still is the de facto professional tool because of a couple of things. And one of them is the way the layers work and the way the typography works and the way you can import large files and do some really complicated things with it. Lightroom is certainly great for 98%, 97% of the population in terms of editing, cataloging, and then developing using develop module. Photoshop, they're both Adobe products. They look very similar. So when you see me open up in Adobe Photoshop Raw through Bridge, it's going to look real familiar. So that's just kind of the way Photoshop has evolved. And I remember a time before there was Bridge. I'm pretty sure. I do lots of hard drives and archiving. I'm very much into archiving, and I think there's some cold hard facts about archiving. I'm not going to go into them now. That's a separate class. If you engage with me in further classes, I could talk about archiving. But archiving is very important because I look at it as a 58-year-old who's been doing this since I was about 16 years old. So I've seen the trends. I've seen what's feasible come in archiving. And certainly printing is really important or maintaining those hard drives. Imperfect is my perfect. I don't seek to be perfect. I think that perfection is a haughty goal, but when it comes down to workflow, there's a blend between getting it done and making it perfect. And if you've ever worked in a dark room, you'll know what I'm talking about when you just keep blowing sheet after sheet of paper, dodging and burning microscopic differences. At a certain point, you have to kind of say, this is it, this is good. Another thing I want to say about software, and I'm a curmudgeon when it comes to this, I hate buying stuff over and over again. I like to buy good quality stuff, and once I make the investment, I like to have it for many years. So I wanted to tell you a quick story before we go in any deeper. And it was way back in the day, I think it was around 1998. And I was really kind of pushing it with design and Photoshop and learning digital photography. And I had to learn a good layout, a graphic layout program to work with the photographs. And at the time, there was Quark Express. And some of you may remember Quark Express. Drop that in the chat if you remember Quark Express. Came on like 12 floppy disks. Anyway, I learned how to use Quark Express. It was a complicated program. I spent a lot of time working on it. And then Adobe InDesign came around and it destroyed Quark Express. So I felt like learning that program, it really hurt because it went away. That also happened to Go Live Cyber Studio, an early HTML coding software. So I I think the big one, and see if anyone remembers this, it was Apple had they had iPhoto, but then they had Aperture, and Aperture was like going head on. Lightroom and Aperture came out about the same time, and Aperture went away. So I remember selling and advising people, camera whispering, what's better, Lightroom or Aperture? And I'll tell you, I used to say, like, I think whatever you prefer, that Aperture is pretty nice. Having that go away and become the watered down iPhoto was a sobering thing. I didn't learn either one because I was already burnt from the other softwares. So this is a system I've been working with for quite some time. So let's go. The Hudson is frozen. Let's show this workflow off and tell you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're just going to jump out of that. And I want you to look for a quick hot moment on my desktop. And the desktop is relatively clean. So we're gonna screen recording. Oh, I hope it's letting me do it. If not, it matters not. We're gonna just go past that. And we did that. We can move that to trash. Okay, so Nikon camera. Really expensive 512 gigabyte card. Not that expensive actually, because and I laugh at it. It cost back in the day a lot more money. All right, we're plugging that into a card reader directly in. It's a Lexar card reader. And we got the desktop opened up. And I'm fumbling. Hold on. There it goes. Insert it in. Let's get off this downloads. All right, so work number 3. That is the disk that we're using as a destination disk. This is a little disk on the side. Let's get this out of the way. Nikon Z9. You guys can see this. Okay, we got DCIM is where the pictures are going to be. February 1st. Okay, now what happened here was when I went to do this photo shoot, it was a day after the other photo shoot. So I'm going to select these pictures. And over here, I have Frozen Hudson. Open that up. And here's the pictures from January 28th. These are pictures from February 21st. I cleared out the card in between the two when I downloaded it because I do that kind of automatically. So all I'm doing is putting the folders next to each other, dragging them over, bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. So we'll look at those pictures in a second. All right, so I shot a gig on my balcony, and you'll see them in a moment. What I shot was just we had a beautiful sunset, and I was fooling around with that. Okay, so now we got Frozen Hudson. It's on here. This is the folder it's in. I'm going to take that folder and I'm going to drag it down to my dock. And there is Photoshop. Bada bing. Oh, I didn't want Photoshop. Whoa, 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 whoa. I want to do Bridge. Whoops. Hold on. Let's go back over. It's okay if Photoshop opens. I don't know what's going to see. I couldn't open the clipboard. Okay. Let's try that again. Frozen Hudson. We drag it down to the dock. We put it over Bridge. When you drag a folder onto the Bridge icon, it just opens up that folder. So if you ever get lost in Bridge or navigating, like where am I, you just drop the folder onto the icon and it works really well. Hold on one second. Very important. Have to have a sip of my tea. Okay. It's my blueberry thinning tea, getting ready for the Tulum trip. So I'll drink that tea and I'll be real in shape and thin. Okay, a couple of things that we're going to look at here is it's good to have some good habits while you're doing this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to sort by date created. All right. And we walked over to Hudson River Park, and this is kind of how I do my edits. Let's bring that over. I hope you guys don't see that on the screen. Okay. So what we're doing is we're just zipping through. Nothing here. This kid's I felt intrusive and I really want to focus on the Hudson River. So I walk past those kids. And then I'm greeted with this, which it's really quite slushy and it's the upper layer. The lower layers are evidently more salinated and it holds itself together a little better. So this is just a quick view. It's really cold, by the way. It's below 10 degrees. I'm not having a great time. You got the helipad, and the helicopters are still going. So my thought process was here was there was that mooring. That's interesting. Let's put it in the middle of the picture. Let's balance it with the plane. Hold on, rule of thirds. Let's move it over to the left a little bit. We got the helicopter there. Let's pull the zoom back. Oh, you know what? I like this definitely better than this. I like that I tried this and I fooled around with it. I was shooting with a Nikon 24 to 120 lens f4 and also a Nikon 14 to 24 millimeter 2.8. Those were the lenses I brought with me on the Nikon Z9. I'm starting to like this because it's a little interesting with the helicopter in the background, and this one with the wide angle I think really shows the scope of what's happening here. So I'm gonna put a star onto this one. I'm going to give it just one star because I kind of like it. Now, because I'm in sort by date created up on top of here, then the stars don't matter. That's key as we go along and we edit. That drop down menu is going to become your friend. Okay, so went in close with the 24 120. Great to have that flexibility. The boat over there. I'm not too thrilled with the buildings that are on the other side. That's part of Jersey City, I believe. It's not doing much for me. I prefer definitely that one. And also, this one kind of reveals something, a relatively interesting new building over there. So I kind of like that one. I'll give it one star. Now we're getting a little close up just to show the slush what's going on. Um, it's abstract. It's not doing much for me. I'm going to go past it. Rule of thirds. Yeah. Then there's this runner who ran past me. She's over here, and I want to kind of catch her. That was the idea there. So I just kind of kept shooting, cut shots of her, making sure that her head was pretty much right along the horizon, going absolutely nothing going on there. That didn't work at all. Didn't care for it. Uh, Turning around, playing with the exposure a little bit. I love when the clouds obscure the sun and the sun just becomes a baleful eye looking down on a cold winter scene. I'm kind of liking this one. This is with the 10 to 24. This one is this is doing something for me. Played with the exposure a little bit. I like this exposure better. I definitely like this one. From what I've seen so far, I'm gonna make this a two. And then we're going along. So now we're in between two piers, and I kind of wanted to see how that would work with two jutting piers coming out. So this was walking up to it. Now we're in the middle of it. Turn the lens down a little bit, get those shapes. I think there's something here to be worked with. I'm going to give it a two for now. Jay Mizell told me to always turn around and photograph what's behind you. So I turned around and photographed the park that my dog Eisenhower, if you guys have met Eisenhower, is a champ on those rocks, has been his whole life. It's his favorite place. Okay, I want to hit your mute there, whoever just gave that cough. I continued walking in between the two piers and got to Pier 64. And I felt this was an important shot because it said Pier 64 and it let me know exactly where we're at. But it was the shot after it that, whoops, I did do some work on this one. I can revert it. But this was the shot that I really liked from this shoot. And we'll go into what I did with it. But it's a three star. I worked it so that I could put it into the e-blast that I sent out to all of you to let you know that this was going on. So that's why this one's been already looked at. That's why I downloaded them. Okay, so we got that looking straight down. Okay, it's interesting, I guess. Um, that's, I think, a little bit better. I like this one because this one has the World Trade Center in the background, the Freedom Tower. That's kind of important to me to have an iconic building. These are residential buildings in Chelsea, newer buildings. They're fine, but this one speaks to me a little more. Let's just look at the sequence. Okay, so slight difference there. I don't like to make horizons cut in two. So I'm going to go with this one, even though I think I'm going to have to rotate it a little bit. I just like the detail. I get a little bit more frozen Hudson in it. So I'm going to make that a two. Okay. Nope. Nah, look at this. I got these pylons in the way. This is sloppy. It's not going to cut it up. I guess I saw the slop and I corrected it in the viewfinder. Okay, practice what you preach. That's good. Um, these are okay. Oh, you know what's going on here? There's a bird. There's some birds flying around too. Wait, I think they were. Something was had. Yeah, do you see the bird right here? There's a bird there. 54 megapixel camera is like no problem. 52 megapixel. Walked you around the dock and things got way more interesting because you really want to incorporate a sense of place. You want to give away some clues so that anyone looking at something will know where it's at. Looking south from Hudson Park, I don't think was iconic at all, unless we got the Freedom Tower in there. This one though is looking up, and this is really intensive because we got the frying pan, which is a classic. Uh, it's a barge that's permanently up against this pier, and it has a bar, and they got really good fried oysters. And I really enjoy like late spring, just as summer starts to come out, hanging out in the frying pan. I've been to parties on the frying pan. It's a cool place. Okay. Um, but it's also got the Empire State Building, which I think is just key. And then you can see things are tilted a little bit because it's a 14 millimeter lens. I'm happy with this one. This is really what I came for. Aiming the camera down a little bit, up, getting a little bit more foreground, turned it like this. I like it because there's some construction going on in the middle of the Hudson. But I'm going to go with this is coming in a little detail. Got frying pans there, but now I'm going to go back. This is the shot with the Empire State Building. Notice that, take a quick look at the Empire State Building. Look how the correction, see it tilts itself a little bit with the other lens, with the wider angle. That's interesting. Or I may have lifted the camera up and tilted it a little bit, which I probably did do. Okay, I'm going to go for this one. This one's making me excited. I'm going to give this one out of the chute so far. I'm going to give it a 4 star. Okay. We're going to continue along, and this is all good, but I really like the other one. This was walking back home. It was cold. It was an icy condition. So obviously, icy condition. We're going to take a picture of it. It does tell the story. Uh, then all of a sudden, this girl is running. So because I'm a street photographer, I believe in the human element. I think she's too far back there. She's getting closer. She's coming in. She's touching the fence up. No good because this is Barbara. Barbara's entering the frame from the right. But I like this one. She's close. No, I like this one better because I can see the feet. Okay. All right. So this is the one. We're going to give this a 4 star. And why a 4 star? Well, we'll give it a 3 star. I like it because it really is, it just says something. Okay. Then I'm waiting for the light and I take the camera, I bring it out of aperture preferred mode and I take it into shutter preferred mode and I drop the shutter speed down to about a quarter of a second and I turn around and I get some trucks going on the West Side Highway. It's very sloppy. It's hard to really do it. I'm kind of liking this one. Something's happening there. Oh, now the car is good. It looks like there's a sharpness issue. We can use that. Nope, that's sharp. It's all there. Also, this one I like too. Pay close attention over here, in this corner here. Doop doop doop. Look at that. A sign hits the edge of the frame. That's no good. Didn't use the viewfinder good. I'm gonna go with ooh, 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 ooh. I'm gonna go with this one because I like it's in between the stuff here. So we're gonna go with that one and we're gonna give that a 3 star. All right. Fun, fun, fun. Then I'm walking home and I spot this. I got the wide angle lens still on. There's a lot of space. I say to myself, I'm going to be cropping this. I also say to myself, no problemo. It's a 54 megapixel camera. I can crop to my heart's content. But let's just see where we like it. Okay, I like that one. I'm going to give that one a 1 star. It's not so important. The story here is the Hudson. This is the Postal Service by the Hudson. Doesn't really, not really what I'm after. On the way home, this is a gallery. This was some weird stuff in the window. They were mannequins. Now, this is interesting. This was the stuff that was shot on January 1st. It does not really belong into the Frozen Hudson narrative. But what I saw was that it was so cold that there was a lot of smoking action, and that was just really fun. Dialed to aperture all the way down to f/22 so that I get the starburst effect from the sun, let the sun peek out through the water towers of the building, and just had some fun with that. However, that's something for another time. We're going to go back to the workflow part now. We're going to switch over. We're done with the photo shoot from the Hudson. So up on top of here, you see sort by date created. Now we're going to sort by rating. And we're going to drag this all the way down. And here's our pictures that we got. So this is where the ratings start. Just going to hit this rating and go across. These are the lowest ones. Okay, I'm thinking this is a pretty good selection, a vignette of this one shoot. I would like to say that if you noticed when I was just editing and picking it out, I kind of go to a sequence where I sort of was working the scene. And then I'll just go real quickly with the space bar, not the space bar, the arrow keys to edit through the video itself, edit through that moment in time, that maybe 4 or 5 minutes that I spent doing a photograph, edit that. And then when I do that culling, I'm specifically looking for those moments where I was shooting, and they really kind of come through in the actual edit itself. So now that I got this one, I'm sort of liking the best so far, mostly because it's got the iconicness to it. So now I'm going to do Control R, and Control R opens up Camera Raw. Control R, Raw. Okay, so you can also do that the long way through the menu system as well. All right, here's our scene. Now, I've got the dreaded no contrast sky. I know that I can pull something out of the sky. So, first thing that I do in my workflow for street photography, I almost always turn everything black and white. So, I go to black and white and I want to now see in black and white. The next thing you can do is I like to just click auto, and auto basically lets like, what did the Photoshop software engineers think this should look best as? So I'll flick back and forth with auto, but I want everybody to look closely at the slider scales here. So here's without auto, all the slider scales are right in the middle. But when I click auto, the slider scales do something. This is sort of an indicator that there's a lot more information in the highlights than is needed. So one thing always happens is they always drop the highlights. They just minorly played with the exposure, which is very dramatic. The exposure, when you move this back and forth, it really does big things to the picture. So it gave a very small exposure bump. It did open up the shadows. Look at the shadows are definitely way more opened up. So that's your shadows icon. Your whites, it wanted to maintain the white and keep the gray out. And then the blacks, it actually reduced the blacks in it a little bit. So this is what Auto said. Now, auto does a pretty good job. It's a great starting point. What I like to say is I'll frequently auto and then I'll salt to taste the slider bars a little bit. But here's the big trick. First thing we did is we clicked on auto. We got some changes happening. I want you to go over here to two things. One, you guys see that in the top right hand corner is the slider scales for editing, but then this is the cropping one. So I want to go to crop real quickly and just see what's going on here. Okay, I feel that starting with this corner, the crop is perfect. Over here, there's a little bit more room. I think that I can just crop a little bit like that. Now, I want to go back over to here. Notice the preset is locked. I am a firm believer that you shoot in a you shoot in a uh, I'm sorry, I'm missing the word. You shoot in oh God, uh, a format. You guys help me out here. I'm having a senior moment. You shoot in a ratio. Thank you. You shoot in a ratio. You should lock that ratio. Don't shoot and then crop. a half-ass square or a square and then put it next to horizontals or verticals in the grouping. You want to be consistent with the way you present your work. So make sure that I don't care if you do it in a square. I don't care if you do it in a circle. That's fine. Just be consistent with what you do. So you can do it locked. Okay, I also have the grid up. I'm noticing the horizon was shot properly. I took my time photographing it, so that's good. I'm going to hit return, and now it just crops ever so slightly. Arguably, we could crop this building out. I do like the positive and negative that's in there. Uh-oh, we have a triangle in the corner. All right, folks, I'm sorry. I can't live with a triangle in the corner. Now, I know I could clone that out easily, but I'm going to take that building out, and I feel much better about that crop because I the triangle is pointing to the corner, but the triangle isn't bouncing into the corner. Okay, we got that. The auto is looking good. Now we're going to go to the next thing. We're going to go to this circle. Now, this circle is the selection tool, the masking tool, not selection, but it does an automatic selection for you. So let's do the sky. And it does such a good job of picking the sky out. It feathers it. I've been in Photoshop a long time, and I got to say, doing masking used to be an arduous task. It's so nice that it's easy to do. So first thing I'm going to do is that I've got it set up with this red dot so that the red dot shows me where the sky has been selected, what the selection is. The minute I start adjusting things, that goes away. So I'm going to play with the exposure a little bit. Just kind of go with my feel. I'm going to make the sky just a little darker, just a little bit. Okay, but here's the secret that I find. I want everyone to look at the bottom over here, the effects. So effects, we're going to go to dehaze. Watch this. Oh, look at that. And you can also see where I've got dust on my sensor. Pretty bad. Actually, one, two, three. I did clean, when I edited the other one, I saw this and I got a fresh duster and I cleaned it off. Hopefully I got it. Good time when your local camera store or B&H Photo has the reps doing a camera cleaning. Always bring your camera in for a quick cleaning. Okay, so that was using the dehaze. Now, I one thing I'm a little scared of is the dehaze, I went pretty high on it. So I'm going to bring the dehaze down a little bit. And I want to go back over and I want to take the highlights and knock the highlights down a little bit. Okay, then shadows. This is still just the sky. Now I'm going to take the dehaze and I'm going to bring her up to 30. Look, there's not much there, and I don't want to go too crazy. Messing with the clarity key doesn't do anything with the sky. All right, so I'm going to leave the clarity at 0, but the dehaze I liked. Maybe go a little bit more. I could play with the exposure, knock it down a little bit. All right, I'm going to leave it there. There wasn't much going on, but notice how between the camera's quality file and Photoshop Raw really brought out, especially this cloud in between here. So now I like that selection. That's all good. I'm going to go back to this one over on top to the effects, the overall, and I want to play with the dehaze and look at this is now doing the ice and the sky together. I'm liking it much better. And then this is my signature. If you've taken a workshop with me, you may have heard me talk about this. My vignette is always 7. Now, when I say 7, I don't mean 6, I don't mean 8, I don't mean 11, I don't mean 16. I mean 7 is my number. That's my lucky number 7. And I always do a little bit of a vignette. And this is a personal thing because all my images now have this very consistent vignette. And I believe in repetitive elements to reinforce style. And back in the day when we used to do the printing, we used to burn the corners a little bit. Because when you looked at a print, slightly burnt corners, a slight darker vignette made your attention go to the center of the print. So that's left over. That's part of my style because I'm an old guy. I'm used to printing. All right, so I did all that. I'm liking the way it's looking. Everything's all good. If you wanted to see the work that you were doing, you can look at you can toggle between what you did. Here's how we started, and this is how we ended. I'm quite happy. I'm slightly concerned that I cut the horizon in half, but it's what it is. There were pylons in front of me. Now I go to the bottom and I click done, and this is the secret for me. Now done, what it did is it applied the changes for the photograph we just worked on. So that was the one we just worked on. Whoops. Go to the bottom here. Here is the one we just worked on. It's 4 stars. So I haven't opened it up in Photoshop yet. I just kept it in RAW. Let's just kind of continue what we're doing, and I'm going to work a little bit faster on this one. Let's go to this one. I think there's some merit to this one. It sort of tells the story because the Hudson's over here, and then I find it slightly interesting because of the shutter drag. Now I say slightly industry. I'm not looking for a, a gold star in this photo, but I do believe it's part of the shot. So I'm going to go Control R. And I'm going to turn to black and white. I'm going to go to the crop as I always crop first. I step back a little bit. I look at all the corners, what's going on. It absolutely kills me that this building has been chopped over here. That's really unfortunate. So I'm going to just try zooming in a little bit. No, because then I cut the other thing off. Okay, that's about as good as it's going to get. I'm going to go back to the slider tools and I'm going to click auto and see what auto did. Okay, auto just reduced the highlights a little bit, going back and forth. All it did was the highlights. That's okay. I'm going to go over to the dehaze and dehaze. I'm not going to play with the sky too much because that tree is going to, well, you know what, folks? Let's see how it does. Let's select the sky. Okay. It did pretty good, actually. Let's go over to the dehaze and just see what we got. Some birds, a little bit. All right, I like that. Let's go to exposure. Knock the exposure down a little bit. Yeah, I think that's an improvement. Let's go back to the slider, which is universal now. Let's go to vignette. And how much should we vignette? 7. Okay, hit done. All right, I already did this one. I went pretty heavy on the sky, but I already did this one. If you want to kind of see what I was doing on this, this is only 30 feet from the location. So we'll do this one. Okay, so first thing we do is we switch to black and white. We go to the crop tool, and I'll tell you, because that sky is kind of lame and nothing really is going on here, I am going to zoom in a little bit. Now, this is what I like. The rule of thirds is very close to the horizon. So it's harmonious. I like it. You know, I'll break rules, but I won't break that rule, especially for a shot like this. Okay, so the crop is good, but let's definitely play with the sky. So we go to that selection tool. For the masking tool, we do the sky. Okay, pretty much what we expected. Let's just go to the exposure, knock the exposure down a little bit. Let's go to the dehaze. Ah, look at that. Look at all that detail was there. It was in the file. I saw it when I shot it. It's so nice to be able to retrieve it. Okay, then we're gonna go to, let's just play with the highlights, knock that down a little bit. Let's bring the blacks into it a little bit. I like it. Okay, if I want to see what I did, I could click the I button to toggle. Ah, right? I mean, bellissimo. Okay, let's go back to the slider and what do? We're gonna go to the vignette. Oh, the way the auto we do with the auto is not happening. Let's go for a full dehaze to see what we can do to that ice. Oh, that's definitely nice. I'm sorry if I sound like Bob Ross. This is the shit that goes on in my head while I'm doing these edits. Sorry, when I see things I like, it just excites me. And it makes me want to edit, which I love shooting, but sometimes you just got to get through the edit. Okay, so I'm liking what we got. We can always toggle for goodness. Ooh, much better. Okay, done. All right, then we have this one, and it's okay, but I just like the other ones better. So at this point, I'm going to bump this one up to a 3. Um, I think we're going to go with this one, and I'll tell you why we're going to go with this one. Out of the photo shoot, having four images is enough for me. And there's a relationship between what we're going to do. Hold on one second. I learned this from Mr. Steve Simon about relationships. I clicked the black and white. I'm sorry, go to crop next. I'm sorry, Barbara, but I'm going to crop you out. Okay. Pretty clean. The runner is in that bottom third. Okay. Absolutely want to work that sky. Let's select the sky. Let's go to the exposure, knock the exposure down a little bit. Let's go to the dehaze and see if we can pull something out of it. No, there's not much here. Yeah, the sky was angry that day. All right, so we can see about taking the highlights down, but yeah, this sky is not, you can't do much to the sky. All right, so let's see if we did improve it. Yeah, we improved the sky a little bit. Um, okay, we're gonna go back to slider bar, and then we're gonna go down to the dehaze, global dehaze. Good. Now check this out. I'm gonna go back to the masking tool, but this time I'm gonna create a new mask, and I'm gonna select a subject. Now, if I do subject, it very well will get the girl running. It will do a really good job on that. But I want to select an object, but it doesn't know what object to do. So I bring the cursor over, and I'm just going to go over the sign, and it selected the sign. Okay, now we're going to boost that icy condition up. Hold on. And we're going to take the whites, bump the whites, make the blacks a little blacker, and take a look at that, huh? Just a little bit more. I would also just try to play with some contrast on that. Yeah. Okay. All righty. Then we're going to go back to the slider again, and we're going to do our vignette. The vignette is always the last thing that I do. 7 is last. And we hit done. Okay, so check this out. So this is bridge that we're looking at. And it's sort of Steve Simon really taught me this. And it's this view of it's a view, it's multiple images that have a relationship to each other. And what I'm really happy with this is that this is facing south, this is facing south, this is facing north, and this is facing north. No, south. This is facing south. Where did our hold on a second. Are we missing an image? Did we Oh, and we have to add this one. Okay, so now we got 5. Get rid of this. So we got looking north and south. I think that I want to edit this for a photo essay to put onto the Instagrams. So let's do this. Let's look at these two images and let's decide which one we like better. While I like the lines of this one, I feel that this one's better. So we're going to go with this one and we're going to bump her up to a 5-star. Okay, then let's look at the two looking south, which was this one. Oh, we did that one. Okay. And this one. So north and south. Basically, I'm in the same place, essentially. Actually, I'm not. I moved over to the West Side Highway on the second one. All right, I like north and south on this one. So here's what we have all said and done. It is the Zoom window keeps getting in my way because this is my editing computer. Here are the 4 images, and I'm really happy with these 4 images. Okay, so if I was on a workshop, what I would do is I would select these 4 images like I did, and then we're going to go up to File, Export to, we're going to go to Custom Export. And what we're going to do is original file location. No, we're not. We're going to save to a subfolder and we're going to say a specific folder. Sorry, forget this. You say original file location, specific folder, and then we go browse. Okay, now here's browse. Now this is how my mindset works. I make folders for everything, all right? I'm old school. So let's go to work number 3. Let's go to Frozen Hudson. Here's all the images. Let's go to a new folder and let's call this folder edit, web. Okay, so this is my web folder. I choose that. Then I go down to image format, JPEG. We want to do that. I need to boost the quality to 12. AI should figure that out. I always boost it to 12. You always want to do a JPEG as best as you possibly can. Just always do it that way. But then we get over here on image resize. This is an interesting one. If you're working with a workshop, keep the scale image at 100%. That's really safe to do. But I'm using this one for the web. So what I want to do on the web, I really don't want to make big files. So I'm going to go fit alongside 1920, but resolution, I'm going to go 96. 96 DPI is web resolution. So you really don't need to do any better for Instagram or putting onto a promo website or sending with emails. That's the size that you really want to do. Okay, so then we go to start export. Ba, 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 ba. Exporting 204, 304. Okay, did the export. So now I want to bring you back to the actual edit web. I've got these 4 images. They're JPEGs. I'm going to select all of them. And then this is pretty cool. For the web, I want to get these images over to Instagram as soon as possible because what I wanted to do is make an Instagram post. So I selected all the images. I go to the button over here, which is the share select, and I'm going to go to airdrop, and I'm going to make sure my phone is on. It's phone number 436, and it sent over these images to my phone. So now I got it on my phone. Okay, what if I wasn't concerned about my phone? What if I wanted to print these images? So I've saved them right now in Bridge. That's where we're basically sitting. So let's do an export for printing. So it's going to be a custom export. We're going to do not original. We're going to go specific folder. We're going to go browse. And then we're going to go back up one to Frozen Hudson, new folder, and we're going to call this one for print. Okay, it's done. Let's can choose that folder. Then we're going to go down to format and we're going to go to TIFF. So TIFF is a lossless format. TIFF is very safe and good quality for printing. We're going to go there. Now, scale image, we don't have to scale the image because we're going to open up the TIFF. The printer software will figure out the full size image. So we don't have to enlarge it. Start export. Okay, so what I just showed you is I use that export quite a bit. And I know that there are other softwares that export with a better graphic user interface. But as I've said before, this is my workflow. This is what I've been doing for a long time. And I've said to myself, I should learn Lightroom. And I've been taught Lightroom by some really good people have shown me Lightroom. And I feel that it doesn't really, I like this system. So it's nothing, again, this is like the Corleone family. This is nothing personal. This is just business. It's how I work. It's how I do my work. So I also like to use frequently, I work on a good quality Macintosh computer. What I'll do is I hit the space bar. I'll frequently when I'm looking for things, I'll do stuff like that. Oh, you know what I want to show you guys? You might like actually. I want to show you how if anyone's using some new tools. So we're just going to go back to Bridge, and we're going to go back to Frozen Hudson, and we're going to go to this shot, and this time we're going to double click it, and it's going to open up in Photoshop. Actually, I'm sorry, it opens up in RAW first because I saved it as a PSD. So we already did the work on it. We're going to open it up, and we're just going to run Photoshop quickly on it. So ignore that pop-up box. That was a Vincent Versace thing. So there's a tool over here. Photoshop's tools have evolved greatly over the years, and the content-aware tools are so good now. So this one is a healing brush tool, and I'm just going to drop it over, and it just cleans it up very quickly. So I got to get this camera clean. These are bad because you don't see it on the regular image coming out, but boy, you see it on that. Okay, so we just cleaned up the image. That's pretty important. So I don't think Lightroom can do that. That's a Photoshop thing. Photoshop is good for those little details, and Photoshop, we also have just a lot of detail here. Okay, so it's 6:51. I told you guys an hour. I'm gonna open this up. Um, you've seen my workflow, and if you just want to kind of just for one more, just for as they say, shits and giggles, just minimize that. And I just want you to look at just like my folder system. So this is work number 3, and I started this little SanDisk. Um, it's a SanDisk 2 gigabyte drive and 2 terabyte drive, sorry, and stuff that I've got going on. And this is how I kind of set it up. Um, yeah, this is all new work. I haven't edited all of it, like a Three Kings. I haven't added everything. This was shot with Fuji raw camera. Um, so it's just kind of how I set it up. If you guys want to get a laugh, see if you can hear this. I don't know if you can. No, we're not gonna do it. All right. I've been playing with the theremin because I wanted to create a soundtrack behind my music. Up, that. Quit that. Okay, so anyone have any questions on my crazy workflow? You can unmute yourself. I'll stop the share for a moment. Got 11 people are still here. Okay. I'll check the chat, see if we got some questions. Okay. Lightroom. Okay, Lightroom can do spot minute. Thanks, Tom. Distraction and Dust. Dust was a recent addition. But works best. Thank you. Yep. Um, okay, Sherry, good, good. Good to see you as well, Sherry. Are editing saved to XMP files? So good question. This was from Tom. I save, I do that first layer of opening up, doing in Bridge, doing the Control R, which allows it to be saved as a NA, whatever file was originally done. Uh, then when I go for print, I save as a TIFF. If I go for the web, I save as JPEG. So I have no problem saving PSDs. Usually when I do a lot of work and I'm done with the file and I'm ready for it to go to the next step, whatever that may be, I'll make the decision of how to save it. I don't do XMP. I do PSDs, TIFFs, and JPEGs. Yeah. Oh, I want to talk about one other thing too. Yeah, LR keeps the original. Absolutely. Look, I'm not shitting on Lightroom. Lightroom's fine. As a matter of fact, Bridge, when you open up in Camera Raw, it looks easy. Photoshop edits the pixels. Look, I mean, Photoshop just gets in there. So that's sort of where I'm at on this. Like I said, I think there are better workflows out there, but the workflow that works for you. And I've tried to set up on workshops, tried to help people. If you're really like, you don't want to spend the $20 a month to have Photoshop, Bridge, and Lightroom. or $18 a month, whatever it is, and you want to use iPhoto, I have an iPhoto workflow as well. It's super simplified, but it all has to do with exports. Uh, that's a key. And I think that when you're on a workshop, you're working for the workshop. So you have to develop a set of exports, and exporting just lets you know what it's there for. Um, Also using Bridge, it keeps the same star ratings once I start starring something. So that's all good. So that's my workflow, everybody. Anyone has any questions, again, feel free to drop it in the text or shout it out.
So,
Nope, nope.
David, how do you keep track of all the different versions of pictures you have on your computer then? Um, I mean, you you research, you go through your computer, you find something, you say, oh, I took that 3 years ago, 5 years ago, but now you see, oh, it's a lower resolution. I must have an original somewhere, but I also have a PSD and a TIFF. And um, how do you
So
get?
good question. And if you work close with me, and some of my old B&H colleagues will remember, um, I have a good, I have a really good memory for this folder section. I just have a good memory
Yeah,
in general, like camera specs. Being a camera guy over all these years, you remember camera specs. So what we'll
yeah,
do is we'll just open up something. So I'll go to drone roof folder. I don't care about, I just open up that folder. But this is the key. I go over here and I'm going to search. And let's just search for, we want some West Village photos. I don't have any on this drive. Let me think about something on this drive. I want to see fall NYC. So fall NYC colors come right up. So I can click on these two, kind of see what is in the folder. Oh, this is the folder I was looking for. It's got everything I kind of want. Oh, wait a minute, hold on a second. I was looking for West Village. We don't have that, but let's go over to Central Park. Then I'll take that and I'll drag that down to Bridge. And this folder's already been edited. So if I go to sort by rating, the rating's probably already here. Yeah, this is great. The rating is already built into it. Boy, what a difference. I haven't seen color like that in a while. So anyway,
mm,
so to answer your question is that I do really good at labeling what the folder is, and then I rely on the built-in search tool to kind of get me in the area for it. So I do keyword with a folder. I don't keyword with the actual software. I would keyword with the software, but I'm a lazy bastard, and I just keywording is I'll do one keyword, and I'll break down. There's definitely, I call it digital anarchy. If you are sloppy and you have, let's say, 4 or 5 photo shoots on one card that maybe span 2 months, I think that you're screwing up. I think that you should shoot, download as soon as you can,
yes,
get it onto the drive, get it onto the cloud, whatever method you have, take that card, confirm that you made the successful download, and then reformat that card. That's the
yes.
best thing you possibly can do.
David,
And
can
then
I add something?
yes, yes,
Have you heard of an app called Peak 2, Peakto?
I haven't.
Peakto, actually, you can find it at the website is Sign, Charlie Yankee Mike Echo.io. It is an app that will look at every one of your folders on every one of your drives, cull everything, and use AI to select any search terms you put into it. It's really quite an amazing program.
So that's pretty incredible. And I'm thinking as we I'm using AI and I enjoy AI. I'm not anti-AI. The AI culling thing, I really want to. There's one called the Aftershoot, and that seems to be a lot of the wedding people use that. And I kind of want to. I feel that wedding photography I can cull, but I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know if I want AI culling a standard photo shoot.
Well, what
I
it
don't
does, I
know.
mean, you can put in any search terms you want that you may have tagged your photos with, no matter whatever drive it's on, whatever its folder it's in. or you can say photos of sky. It's worth looking at the video on their website to get an idea of how strong it is. It works with multimedia, multiple drives, and it's quite amazing. So it's Peakto, and the website is cyme.io. It's worth looking at.
Okay, I'll definitely take a look at it. Ladies and gentlemen, as well, I want to introduce you to Stuart Bloom, who was with us in Paris last year. And one thing about Stuart, and I think about you frequently, Stuart, I think about the workflow of the people that I work with. And you're a rare bird because you get into very specific different softwares to get to your ends meet. My method is really, I just live in Photoshop. I live in Adobe products. That's about it. I don't go too far. Now, that being said, black and white conversions, the old Nix software, the old black and white, that's the best that's out there. But check this out. I've bought that like 3 times in my life. I don't know, just like you get it, it gets sold, and it just all of a sudden the new version disappears. But thank you for the suggestion. AI is certainly the future. I don't reject it. I do accept the fact that it's here to stay, and that's kind of the way it is. So, um, anybody else have a question? Uh,
Yeah, David, when you do your black and white, do you ever use the color sliders to, play like on the one with the boat, the with the bar? I can never remember the name of that bar. Like it's red, so you could, decrease the red so that would bring that out or lighten it. So do you ever play with that in your
I
once
I
you
don't I don't I think I I wouldn't mind playing with it. I don't think it's really needed. So I'm not really going there. I don't,
see, I play
I
with it.
fooled around like the green for portraits. I played with green to smooth out skin and all that. I don't know. It kind of, I like the way the camera builds the file. I'm pretty happy in general playing with exposure. Um, the other thing I forgot to say this, and this is worth the price of admission. I think I'm still recording. Um, that when you use the slider bars, especially the dehaze bar, go to where you're really happy, like, oh my God, this looks really good, and then pull it back 20%. So what we feel when we use a slider bar, we over process images naturally. So I always say, like, get to where you are and pull it back. And then after you do the same thing over and over, you've been working with me a long time, Bonnie. You know that pretty much my work looks alike. It's this very similar vibe. I want it using the same methods really helps that out. I'd say that the biggest evolution actually in the work is the cameras that I'm working with, or the cameras that we're all working with. They change the way we work. We adapt to the cameras. I
Right.
just had a conversation with Harvey Stein, and Harvey's like, "Oh, come on, David. Do you know that it's the photographer, not the camera?" Yeah, cameras cameras are pretty important. I mean, the photographer is important, but it's both, it's a symbiotic relationship. So
Yeah, I mean, I
that's
don't
pretty.
think I'd be sticking with it as much now. I mean, I did do some film, but now that it's digital, I'm way more excited because I can come back, I can do my own thing, I can process, I can play with it, and I enjoy it way more than, letting somebody else, because I never printed, no desire to print, no desire to develop or any of that stuff. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's what works for you. I tell you, a couple of you have been on workshops, and you all day long you're making work, you're walking, you're being flooded with information, you're making pictures, you have a nice dinner, and you're like, ugh, and you got to download that card, and you got to call those images. You got to be fast. I mean, that's the trick. You can't micromanage it. It's rough to get in there. So you start doing the same thing over and over to your pictures. The style increases. You get faster with what's going on. Uh, I'm going to stop the record now, and want to thank everyone for being here. And I
Uh,
also